Do you want to know how to get a kid to stop taking their glasses off? I'm Nicholeen Peck, and I teach all over the world about parenting, good communication, how to build strong family bonds, child development, and education, all through the lens of the principle self-government. And in this video, we're talking about glasses and how to keep them on. In this video, we're going to talk about why they want to take those glasses off and what types of insights and skills you can share with your children so that they get that picture of keeping them on and they develop a habit of keeping them on even if they happen to feel uncomfortable. Why do they fight so hard to not have those glasses on? Well, getting used to glasses can be difficult. Also, they feel a little heavy on the face sometimes, especially depending on the style. Sometimes they can pinch. Sometimes children aren't very good at telling you what's comfortable, what's uncomfortable about the glasses. Sometimes they're comfortable for a while and then they're not. Sometimes the eyes just get tired because maybe the prescription is changing a little bit for them. Their eyes are adjusting. There's just so many factors as to why a person would not want to keep their glasses on. But it really boils down to one thing, and that is just comfort. When a person is wanting to take the glasses off, it's because they want to give something a rest, whether it's the sides of the face, the ears, the nose, or just the eyes in general. They want to feel like they've gone back to their real, regular life. I know that when I got glasses, which was just about a year and a half ago, it actually took me quite a while. I would say probably a couple of months before I felt like that I could look through the glasses without noticing the edges of the glasses. And it was so annoying to see the edges of the glasses because prior to that, I would be looking over glasses, like reading glasses sometimes, and then back in the glasses. And so I knew when I was trying to use the glasses and not, and now all of a sudden it was different. That could be a factor for the child too, and depending on the severity of the vision correction that's needed, sometimes you're dealing with, bifocal, trifocal, all that kind of stuff, and they're looking through different layers of vision, which can really be burdensome on the eyes and can take a little while to get used to that much strain and extra activity. I know that it did take a little while for me at least. So if you've been through that phase where you know that they're probably used to it by now or fairly used to it, maybe you're a few weeks in to the glasses, but they're still wanting to take them off all of the time. It could also just be because when they play, that sometimes when they get close to things, it touches. That's annoying. So they don't feel like they have as much freedom to crawl under stuff and to put things on and off. It just feels like a pain. And basically that is what I call a no answer. As part of my teaching self-government parenting training, there is a series of books for children that each teach one of the 4 basic skills to children, which are following instructions, accepting no answers and criticism, accepting consequences, and disagreeing appropriately. This book here, Porter Earns a Quarter, teaches the skill for accepting no answers. You're probably going to need all 3 of these skills while you're handling how to keep those glasses on when they don't want them to be on. You'll probably need disagreeing appropriately when you give them a no answer about taking them off or give them an instruction about putting them on. They may have something to say and want to disagree appropriately with you. Also, if they're truly resisting, you may end up needing the skill accepting consequences. So, you may need the whole set to handle the situation. The skills are quite intuitive once you get learning them, and these books are fun, they rhyme, they're easy to learn from. But let's talk about just one of the skills today, which is the skill accepting no answers. When you have to do something that you feel like you don't prefer, that's like hearing a no answer from someone else. That's what this book is all about. It teaches the 4 steps to accepting a no answer. When you accept a no answer, you look at the person or the situation, which means you acknowledge what's going on. You keep a calm face, voice, and body. And body would also mean like your brain. You stop thinking about it all of the time, okay? You stay calm, which means you do have to teach the child what calmness means so that they can understand that. Then you say okay to the situation or the person, or you ask to disagree appropriately. Now, you can't disagree appropriately with your own glasses, but you can disagree appropriately with your parent who's telling you no to taking the glasses off. So then after that, you drop the subject. If a person can do all 4 of those things, all the way to drop the subject, which means I'm not going to think about it anymore, I'm going to tell myself to stop thinking about the glasses. If I can do that, then probably I'll stop being annoyed by the differences of wearing the glasses in the first place. If you can do that, then the person can usually develop the habit of keeping the glasses on without much resistance. But if the person happens to still resist to wearing the glasses, even when you've given instruction or given them a no answer about taking the glasses off, then you might need to go into a corrective teaching. Now, if you've already subscribed to this channel, you know I have lots of videos where I talk about correcting various behaviors. And so I discuss corrective teaching quite frequently here on the channel. So when you do a corrective teaching, what you do is you describe the situation, you give a rationale for why they need to behave a certain way in that situation, and then you tell them what they should have done instead of making the wrong choice initially. Then you give them the opportunity to accept a negative consequence, because a person can't learn self-government, which is what this channel is all about. It's called the Teaching Self-Government channel for a reason. That's our root principle that we're basing everything on here. So a person can't learn self-government unless they get the opportunity to accept their consequences, which means they have to say, that's right, and I accept that. I made that choice and that this consequence is what follows. And then you practice things the right way, you praise them. It's actually a very positive experience instead of a negative experience when you're correcting a child if you've done it properly and you've got your own self-government that you've been working on. So how do you set the stage for this type of training to occur? Prior to doing a correction, you have to lay the foundation for the child. The first thing you're going to do is teach those 4 basic skills. But as part of your pre-teaching ahead of time, you'll want to set up when you will correct a person. So if they don't use any one of those steps that are associated with those 4 basic skills, then you will do a correction. You'll want to tell them what the negative consequences will be so that that's predictable, and what the words are to a correction as well, so that they'll be able to recognize it when it comes. You'll also want to make sure that they understand this isn't an emotional thing that you're correcting. You're just helping them learn to do their skills of accepting no answers, following instructions, and so forth. You'll probably also want to teach them what type of positive consequence that they could earn as well if they choose to actually accept the no answer or follow the instruction. So that's right. At the beginning of training for any skill, it's usually good to teach what the good thing is that's going to happen to them, as well as what the not so good thing is, or the thing that might need improvement, how that's going to be handled if they choose not to follow the instruction or accept the no answer. What could be a positive consequence for wearing the glasses when instructed to? Well, that's going to be a little bit personal depending on what motivates that child, something that they might feel like is worth going through a little bit of discomfort for. So it could be that someone is motivated by one-on-one time with mom or dad. Maybe they're motivated by certain snacks. Maybe they're motivated by money. Maybe they're motivated by outside playtime. You pick what motivates your child the most, and then you set up a positive consequence just for a short period of time. I would say 2 weeks tops. You tell them, okay, so when you are able to wear the glasses and not have to be reminded to put those on for at least a whole 2 hours, then at the end of those 2-hour marks, there will be a positive consequence that occurs. Or maybe it's a positive consequence that occurs just at the end of the day. Maybe you have a tracking sheet of something they're working toward, maybe a special outing that you're going to go on or something like that, so that they can see that it's worth it to keep these glasses on. And the thing that every person who wears glasses understands is that as long as you go through that rough adjustment period and you can make it to the end of like the 2-week time, then you actually can wear the glasses and not recognize that you're wearing them. Now, this does come back a little bit to that last step of the accepting no answer skill, which is the dropping the subject part. And I'd like to take a little bit more time to talk about that. So that skill, dropping the subject, is a power self-government step to a few of the 4 basic skills. And this is the time where you tell yourself, no, I don't need to think about that anymore. I'm not going to. When I got my own glasses, I had to tell myself, drop the subject, Nicholeen. Don't think about the edges that you're looking out. Don't think about the added weight or pressure that's on your nose. You can't think about it. You have to just push it out of your mind. You need to drop the subject. And when I would tell myself, drop the subject, don't think about this anymore, now I'm going to think about this. And I would deliberately change my mind and my thought processes so that I wouldn't hyper focus on that feeling of the glasses that I was trying to get used to. Even to this day, I've got the kind of sunglasses that just like snap on, like magnet on to the glasses. So when I put my sunglasses on, which is convenient but not at the same time, I love the snap-on feature because I can do it real fast while driving. I don't have to switch anything out, but it's heavier. So then suddenly I know that there's now more weight on my face and I feel it on my nose. Sometimes the glasses start to slide down and I have to tell myself as I'm pushing them up, don't think about it. Just think about something else. Drop the subject because you want these sunglasses on more than you care about the weight. So helping the child understand ahead of time, preparing their brain for what to think when they experience some of these distractions can be very beneficial. Now, we've just scratched the surface about self-government, the skills of self-government, through this mini example of the glasses and the behavior with the glasses. There's so many more behaviors that parents are dealing with. You might be dealing with them too. These skills of self-government, as well as others, are going to help you. I highly recommend going to some of the other videos on this channel. The one that you might want to hit first is the one called The Not So Known Secret for Parenting Success. It's a full-length class that will go into details about some of the skills and principles of self-government, especially go into more detail about consequences and corrections should you need those. I'll see you there.